Welcome, everybody, to Law&Crime Daily. I'm Jesse Weber. A Texas man was killed on the morning of his 15th wedding anniversary, and authorities say it was all part of a murder-for-hire plot. They allege the man's wife was involved and got her boyfriend to kill him. The sound of gunfire on that morning in October 2020 was caught on a nearby Ring doorbell camera. All right, so James and Jennifer Faith, they were out for a walk with their dog in their neighborhood when he was shot in the head, torso, and groin. Prosecutors say Darrin Ruben Lopez was that shooter. Lopez and Jennifer Faith were high school sweethearts who reconnected during the COVID-19 pandemic. Faith allegedly used a secret email account to email Lopez, even pretending to be her husband. She painted James as a physical and mental abuser. Lopez told investigators that those emails are what manipulated him to drive more than 11 hours to the Dallas area and kill James. Jennifer pleaded guilty to murder for hire in February 2022, a year after Lopez was arrested and charged with killing her husband. Jennifer Faith is serving life in prison as Lopez faces the same punishment in his current trial. The prosecution laid out Ruben Lopez's efforts to contact Faith in 2020, as well as emails between the two. Within days of reconnecting, it was clear that Ruben Lopez was head over heels in love.
I know my heart and you still possess it. I love you. And that sounds so good when I say that. I think we can also, over time, build our own relationship in our own way. Neither of us is in a position to jump into anything crazy yet, but I know I would like to start down that road with you. Good thing I have free time on my hands, and I would like to come out there and let's get dinner. He goes on to say, what I can feel is that I do have your heart, and that is all I need. Just in these past days, you have made me sore, and we have not even spoken on the phone, and I already feel more complete with you back in my life. Seems we both have had to take our journey separated from each other, only to find ourselves coming back together again.
Seems so sweet until you realize how horrifying this is. Let me talk about it right now with my co-host, Brian Buckmeyer, Terry Austin. Great to see you both. Terry, I'll start with you. We got a cold-blooded murder here, or we have something maybe like a crime of passion? Where do you land on it?
Well, initially, it does seem like it's a cold-blooded murder. He's driving 11 hours, a lot of time to think about that. People may think it's premeditated, but he might have been manipulated, which is what they are saying. And it could be that it was a crime of passion, or, Jesse, it could even be that he was there defending her because he thought she was going to be harmed. She was claiming that her husband, Jamie, was harming her, right. And so he's there to help her out.
We were talking about that. The problem with that, Brian, is imminent, right? It's not like he was about to stab her, about to punch her, about to shoot her. How do you argue self-defense in that case?
Well, the argument I think there is, what was the harm that she told him she was suffering? It was not just physical, but it was also emotional abuse. And so the concept would be there that the imminency is that she is always in a state of abuse. His presence is a form of abuse. So if he's walking down the street to the home, the grocery store, wherever it may be, and his temper flips, then she could be imminently facing that abuse and that harm, or she could be hearing that just emotional abuse from him being present.
Does that ever work, though? Someone's in a constant state of fear for their life, and someone could come in and they might have a manipulated version of events. I mean, have you ever seen that work?
I've seen it work when you have a woman who is claiming that all of this time she's been with someone and he's been abusing her. Battered syndrome. Yeah. Exactly. But I haven't seen it where you have another person, a hired person, a third person who is protecting that battered woman.
Do you think the jury could just come back and look at it as a sympathy vote and say, we feel really bad for him? Maybe forget the law.
It could be. Well, it could be, but to Terry's point, even though we've seen it with women in intimate partner violence, the same type of self-defense that the person can do for themselves, a third person can do as well. So arguably, you should be able to do it if someone can do it for themselves.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have more to talk about this because still ahead on Law&Crime Daily, our coverage of the Darrin Ruben Lopez trial will not stop here. We're going to be digging into experiences of people outside this couple's strange relationship and that they had with them. This could all help point to the idea that Lopez was in fact manipulated. That's next. And welcome back to Law and Crime Daily, everybody. So we're discussing the trial of Darrin Ruben Lopez. This is the man accused of killing his girlfriend's husband so that they could be together. Remember, Jennifer Faith is serving life in prison after she entered a guilty plea to a federal murder for hire charge. Authorities say that she convinced Ruben Lopez that her husband James was physically and sexually abusing her. Jennifer admitted at her sentencing that she manipulated Ruben Lopez, who suffered from a traumatic brain injury and also PTSD after serving in the Army in Iraq. Now, the two had been having a long-distance affair for months when he apparently drove from Tennessee to Texas to shoot James. The neighbor who heard the shots and ran out of his house says he feels betrayed now that he knows that Jennifer was faking her grief the whole time.
Now we know, though, that she knew exactly who it was, right?
Yes, sir.
And how does that make you feel?
Make me feel, disappointed that I pretty much wasted my time trying to help someone that was using me, but I'm not mad at her.
She was using your good nature as a neighbor.
I think more or less she just used everybody.
You think that helps, Brian? He was manipulated, he was tricked, the defendant was manipulated, the defendant was tricked?
I
think it stumped you a little bit.
No. I think it helps both sides depending on how you manipulate it. I'm still on the point of, why did the defense let that come in?
Yeah.
No one cares about how you feel after the fact. If that was allowed in testimony for trials, everyone could testify about how a defendant made them feel based on their interactions after the fact. It's not relevant to the crime. But I think either side could use it to say, look, she manipulates. Like, she manipulated this guy, she manipulated Lopez. Everyone fell for it. Why are you punishing this guy? And for the prosecution, I think it works less for them. I actually don't know why they walked down that path.
You think it just should have been allowed in that testimony?
Definitely not, but you didn't hear an objection, and if you don't get an objection, the judge is not going to on his own say, listen, this testimony shouldn't be in because it's not relevant. Like Brian said, it was after the fact. Just because this neighbor felt as though he was manipulated has nothing to do with whether or not she actually committed this crime. Now, I do think the defense is doing a great job. The fact that he found this witness and he was allowed to put this testimony in, he's doing everything he can for his client to make his client look as though he's innocent, and that the other person, that Jennifer, she's the one who started all of this. She's the one who did the manipulation. And by the way, at some point, you're going to find out she's serving time for this. So
well, let me ask you this. Is the intent, I use that word, maybe to show that he didn't have the intent to premeditate on this, to deliberate to kill? Maybe they're trying to lessen it to something like manslaughter. Is that an option here?
I think that's hard. That drive from Texas to Tennessee is kind of long. And I think my American geography is not the worst. I am Canadian, so I'm going to use that as an excuse. But you got to go through Arkansas. From what I understand, that's really going to hurt you for a premeditation argument. I think you say he did it, he was manipulated, and the facts before him suggest more self-defense or defense of others than a cold-blooded killer.
But he is different because you can't just say, oh, everybody's going to argue PTSD to get out of things. He might be unique, no?
yeah, I think he also is suffering. I don't know what the medical records are. We'll see if we get any of that. But the defense counsel did say during opening, it's all documented. So the jury's going to be able to understand that he definitely isn't operating the way other people operate because he has a very serious PTSD syndrome.
Very different case. You remember the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case when she was accused of manipulating her online boyfriend to kill her mother?
Correct.
It's kind of have flavors of that as well.